The Miami Marlins are one of the greatest surprises of the 2023 MLB season. Even with the recent slide in July, the Marlins still sit just one game behind a wildcard spot as we begin August. Now, when you think of the 2023 Miami Marlins, I'm sure the first thing that pops into your mind is their filthy starting pitching. Maybe the next thing you think about is Luis Arias' pursuit of 400. And maybe you're also aware of Miami's well-documented offensive struggles. But I bet you don't really think about Miami's defense, which, well, sucks. For one, the Miami Marlins have made the 5th most errors in baseball. That's obviously not great. But defense is much more than just the batted balls you're able to get to. What doesn't show up in the box score that modern defensive metrics try to account for, albeit with some disagreement, are the types of batted balls that go for base hits that a better defender would have fielded. For example, let's start with the outfield. By outs above average, Baseball Savant's fielding metric, Miami outfielders are among the worst at converting batted balls into outs. By FanGraphs defensive runs saved, they are actually dead last. At the corners, the duo of Brian De La Cruz and Jesus Sanchez have really struggled, especially De La Cruz. Having DH Jorge Soler out there from time to time doesn't really help the equation, and adding Abisail Garcia back to the mix probably won't either. Now, center field is a different story. Jazz Chisholm, who moved from second base to center, has been a mixed bag, at least when looking at competing metrics. But from the eye test, it does seem that Chisholm has the range for center field, when healthy. The problem is he hasn't been healthy much this season. The veteran Jonathan Davis admirably held down the fort, but unfortunately he got hurt as well. That's forced rookie Dane Myers to take the reins in center field. He's been fine too for the most part, even though he does take some interesting routes to the ball. However, with Jazz Chisholm back, the Marlins are counting on his athleticism to dominate that cavernous outfield. And I don't see any reason why he can't do it. Around the infield, Miami has its flaws as well. At first base, they actually had a solid to above average defender in longtime Marlin Garrett Cooper. However, in an attempt to boost offense, they traded away Cooper and replaced him with Josh Bell, who's more of a DH at this point. But he'll probably see a fair amount of time at first base, along with Yuli Gurriel, so do expect a downgrade in defense there. At second base, the contact king Luis Arias is interesting. By DRS, he grades out as above average. However, by outs above average, he's among the worst defensive infielders in the game. Now, Arias has never really been known for his glove, so his defense is probably closer to the latter metric. But it's a spot where Miami's roster kind of forces him there, and obviously Miami values his offense way more than his defense. At shortstop, by both metrics, this is actually Miami's best position, anchored by the versatile John Birdie and Joey Wendell. Garrett Hampson is in the mix as well. While none of these players are natural shortstops by trade, they have gotten the job done. Lastly, we have third base. The Gene Segura signing did not work out, on offense or on defense. Once again, the Marlins sought an upgrade at the plate and traded away Segura while getting Jake Burger from the White Sox. The thinking is they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with someone who has a ton of power, but also a lot of swing and miss and terrible defense at third base. So what have we established? Well, the Marlins have pretty strong defenders in premium positions such as center and shortstop. That's a good start, but everywhere else they are sacrificing defense for offense, particularly slug, an area in which they desperately needed to improve. And I do think that's a bit of a problem, because by ERA they've actually been middle of the pack for most of the season. But by fielding independent pitching, FIP, which focuses on what a pitcher can mostly control, namely strikeouts, walks, and home runs, Miami is a top 4 pitching staff. And that makes sense because of their dominant arms, particularly their starters who strike out a ton of hitters and don't give up many walks or home runs. But you know what Miami pitchers do give up? Ground balls. Their pitching staff generates the 2nd highest ground ball rate in all of baseball. And in part, all those ground balls that do find holes means extra base runners, extra run scoring opportunities, and it leads to bloated ERAs. As a fan of pitching and of the sport in general, I would love nothing more than to see the Marlins playing October baseball. but the Miami Marlins are taking a huge risk. Will it work out? We'll find out soon enough.